the resealing of the trial court administration building. Have you been by that?
We have registered of deeds Karen Jackson, equalization manager Pete Huston, and facilities director Steve Shoemaker joining us. We are recording and live streaming when we are ready.
It is 11 o'clock. We'll call to order the Isabella County Board of Commissioners Finance and Administration Committee meeting. The approval of the agenda. Is there anything anybody wishes to change on the agenda or add?
From me, sir.
Did you say we do have Heidi on now?
No, sir. We
Okay.
have register of deeds Karen Jackson.
Okay.
We have equalization manager Pete Preston and facilities director Steve Shoemaker.
All right, so
Heidi noted.
we may change the order of the agenda a little bit to accommodate people that come on a little bit later, but we'll do a call to the public. I didn't do it.
Good morning.
Morning.
I wanted to talk a few minutes about the conversation at the Board of Commission meeting last Tuesday. The topic was brought up about raises, and I know the board, the administration, employees, and probably the community all agree that people should get raises. The board has been extremely diligent in the last several months trying to balance a budget, trying to get to a place where we could operate, trying to get through a lot of issues that came along with that. We've all lived that. We have a very important thing coming up soon in November for my office. I just kind of at a loss that we have this contingency that's tight, and now we're looking at potentially something that could affect that contingency, could affect perception, could affect, I think Commissioner Hutchinson had made some comments about that. I'm not saying no, I'm not saying yes, I'm just saying that I hope the board really takes a look at that. I think there may be some other options just for this year. Maybe that's maybe we get to the second or third or fourth quarter, and if we're doing good and there's funds, maybe a one-time payout to kind of help for that year until we can get stabilized. I think it's been mentioned multiple times that we don't even know really what this looks like at the end, right? We're a year out from a brand new Isabella County world, right? And we really don't even know what that looks like. And maybe I'll be not well liked with my comments here about raises and stuff, but I know places like CMU, when they can't give raises, they'll provide 2 or 3 extra days off. I mean, I think there's some creative things to do to give a benefit to the employee. And I get it. It does not, that just puts them that much farther back with the CPI issues and the going forward. But I'm not sure how we build in monies we don't have if we want to stay on a zero-based balanced budget. I'm not going to harp on it any more than that. I was just kind of taken back at the meeting and I wanted to say something there, but I don't know as if it would have been the right time to make a public comment. But I know the board will do due diligence and look at this and make the decision that they need to make, but that is my opinion on where we sat after a very long, contentious year. Just to put that. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. FYI, I don't want to touch base on what you just mentioned. I know we talked about this briefly.
Well, can we wait
You want to wait
maybe
real
to
quick?
the budget?
We can, sure.
Anybody else for public comment at this point?
Well, I've got the same thing. I've got some ideas of that. And we talked, talking the other night. I don't know if you wanted me to bring it up now or when we get to budget time.
Let's wait till we do the budget then,
Okay,
because I'm sure there's gonna be other input too. So
yes.
we appreciate all the comments. Anybody else for public comment? Okay, we'll move on then. Do we have Heidi with us yet?
We do not, Mr.
So we're gonna delay the item number 4, which is the prime contract order number 25. Move on to number 5. Let's consider approving the completion of the State Tax Commission Form L 4029 2024 tax rate request affirming each county approved millage rate and authorize the board chairperson and the county clerk to sign the same. We have Mr. Pete Preston with us this morning. Thank you, Pete.
Good morning, all. So the 4029, similar to as it's provided in June for the county's general operating levy, this is your substantiation of the levies for the other entities such as the busing, as for Commission on Aging, Parks and Rec, etc. We did, based on your meeting previously and the requests from the individual departments and substantiated by the board, added that to the 4029. Anything that will be on the ballot in November, we will have to come back and adjust based on that action for the levying of the tax bills on, or the issuing of the tax bills on December 2nd by the townships and the local municipalities.
Okay,
Quick question.
Commissioner Embry?
Good morning, Mr. Preston.
Good morning.
I see here on the L 4029 where we have the cost, Commission on Aging, Parks and Recreation, iRide. You look over here to the expirations, and I'm kind of curious. We have Parks and Recreation that expire 2029 versus like our operating village, which was just passed. It's now expiring on 12/24. I'm trying to understand if it was, we passed the millage, why would the expiration be on 12/24? Is it after, once we've submitted this, then it becomes,
These are only for the winter levies and our operating is a summer levy.
okay?
So you would see, I believe, changes for the summer levy.
Next spring.
Yes, but please, Mr. Preston, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe
No,
that should also be stated on this.
yeah, you're absolutely right. And we need to separate those. I know even on your, in the past, even on your summer levy with just the operating, that the other levying portions are put on that. It'd be cleaner just to have the operating on the summer 4029 and then on the winter 4029 or the fall 4029 that we list the others.
Okay, that are
You see how
applicable.
column 11 is
Mhm.
0 for
Yep.
the county operating?
Yep.
We're not levying any
Anything.
in December for that. So that row doesn't get updated. So
No.
what Pete's saying is maybe take that row off for
Do
the
two
winter.
separate
'Cause
L
it's- We
4029.
do two separate ones. They just both always have all the levies on there.
Oh,
And then if
okay.
it's not the period to levy, it's just 0
Yeah.
in that,
Okay.
in that column.
Appreciate the
11.
explanation. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great explanation.
So, a couple of things. Appreciate the new form. I know we're looking at considering cost of living increases for county staff, and the question I have is there a way to forecast what additional revenues we may have because of the new solar installation going on in Isabella Township? I drove by it again and I noticed they're really going great guns on a number of huge installations.
Well, for the first year, solar, which would be considered industrial personal, they could provide us some estimates. There's no tried and true way of just doing by acre or doing by post in the ground anymore because of the fluctuations in pricing. So what we will experience in February of next year is they will be at 50% of construction cost for industrial personal. And at that point, we'll have a real lockdown on what the summer and winter levies would garner from that increase. But I mean, it's something that we could look into. It's something that we could beg of the developer to give us an idea of what they've programmed in. I'm sure they've thought about it as overall project cost of what their taxes will be. We could ask for that general number and work off of that with a whole bunch of asterisks at the bottom.
Okay. So bottom line is nothing there we can hang our hat on right now is, revenues that could offset additional expense in the budget.
We can, again, we can reach out and ask the question of what they consider the overall project, industrial personal would be. I don't know, like with the wind, if there's going to be a huge influx of utility personal in that. But we can ask the question and work with administration to, at least give you some idea.
Okay. The other thing is just a reminder, I did attend, is it the COA county, the meeting that was just,
Council of Governments.
County Governments Association. And, there was some discussion again about, being prepared to do the winter taxes coming up and some need for additional training and some discussion about the cloud and all that. And I said, well, wait a minute, we're trying to set up a meeting, with a couple of people that have expressed, issues. And with, yourself, Mr. Preston, and with county administration at a table so that we can work out the process that we need to have to move in the future. Just kind of a reminder, we're going to be short on time moving forward. So as soon as we could set up that meeting, I do have a couple of people that I would suggest that we invite from other units of government, but leave it at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions for Mr. President?
Good to go.
I will move consideration of the state tax form L 4029-2024 tax rate request affirming each county approved millage rate to the work session next Tuesday. Support. It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. It moves forward.
Thanks, Pete.
Have Heidi on yet?
She is not, Mr. Chairman.
All right, then we're gonna move down to consider approving the Isabella County 2025 holiday schedule as presented. It appears that we have the same schedule, just working in the new dates. Did we notice of any of them that are falling close to holidays that we're gonna need
Well,
to?
they all fall really
I
close
mean,
to holidays.
Yes, isn't what I meant,
On the actual
to our
but-
regular
Observed.
meeting schedule.
Yeah, there are no observed holidays, I think is the word that you're searching for. We didn't have to go back to policy to say, okay, it falls here and now where they were all very, very straightforward and we didn't sneak
No
any new
adjustments.
ones in.
Any? Thanks for keeping me knowledgeable.
Right.
Any questions on the proposed list?
None.
Would you like to move that forward then?
Like to move to take consideration for approving the Isabella County 2025 holiday schedule to our work session Tuesday night.
I will support that. It's been moved and supported to moving consideration of the 2025 holiday schedule to the work session next Tuesday. All in favor? Oh, first of all, is any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. It moves forward. Now we'll go down to discussion regarding the fiscal year 2025 proposed budget.
Yes, Miss Heidi, we're still waiting on Miss Heidi. So we'll go ahead and, we've kind of had the numbers locked down for a few meetings now, really. Just working through those last final changes. At the last board meeting, the board had encouraged us to find the gap funding, if you will, in October, November, December for the senior assistant prosecuting attorney position in the PA's office. This is because there'll actually be 2 people leaving that office starting January 1. And so there will be a vacancy for this person to hopefully move into as of January 1. There'll still be that unfunded second position, but there will be a vacancy starting January 1. This this person could move into. So gap funding for October, November, December is presumed to be less than 30,000 and basically taking that out of contingency at this point. Now, the other, Heidi is hopping on now. The other change that the board proposed was funding a 3% COLA. So a cost of living allowance essentially across the board. Understand that action on Tuesday or that request to build it in on Tuesday. With the budget, we have a big round number, right, that we presented to you that it would cost to do so. 467,000 total across the board, 292,000 for just for general fund. But what we haven't done yet, or what Melissa's in the process of doing, is when you change a COLA, you don't just go in and say add 3%, right? So it affects wages, it affects FICA, it affects workers' comp, it affects disability, it affects retirement, it affects all the things that attach to a wage, right? And we have a few employees and a few departments and a few funds, so the detail of that has not been worked into the budget. And as such is not on display like that. What we've done, there simply wasn't time between now and then to do that and to have it be available for public display. So what we've done is on the front page to say that as of that August 20th, 2024 meeting, here's the things that affected the dollars involved in what the board has proposed to do at that point. So it's really just a few sentences about those two things I just talked about. I will say since that meeting, I have received a lot of feedback about a potential COLA. And none of it has been from an employee who said, thanks, I really could use that. I appreciate it. I don't doubt that that's true, but the feedback I've gotten has been more in line of, I understand that the commissioners want to be altruistic, or that the employees are deserving of this. But the perception out there is not good, as Sheriff kind of alluded to earlier. We've been going down this path of writing the budget and not spending dollars we don't have. And a COLA, giving a COLA in this budget kind of sets us backwards without having found the money to do so. It's an ongoing cost that escalates. I didn't want you to think that we hadn't built it in because we're not going to. We work at the pleasure of the board, and if that's the pleasure of the board, it is getting built in. But I just think it's worthy of conversation. I know we had a commissioner this morning in between committees bring an idea forward that was kind of novel, and it helped us solve a few issues maybe. So how was that for an intro?
That's an entrance.
So I know Commissioner Hutchinson wants to speak to this. I guess I just want to say a couple of things for people that may be viewing this, is that really the county board has two major issues with operating county government right now. One is operating within our means, and we've gone with a zero-based budgeting process, thanks to a whole host of people, including our department heads and employees. And I'm not going to go down the list, but people have made an earnest effort to balance the budget, and we appreciate that. So I can see some daylight there. The other problem that we face, and we faced it for a number of years, is the fact we don't pay well enough, and we're losing people. We can't attract attorneys. We can't attract new police officers because we don't pay enough, and we lose people. It's like, so I watched the personnel reports, and for a while there was like a revolving door, and it's the people that provide the services. And somehow we're going to have to address that. We have a wage study that everybody's waiting with anticipation that we don't have the money to implement. And, you know, I know COLA, we're looking at a high inflationary time. I know and how it's impacted all of our lives as we go to the grocery store and the gas station. And it's a hard decision. And our hearts, I would say, all the county board commissioners and the administration, our hearts are into doing the best we can, not only for the residents of the county, but also for the people that provide those services to the residents. They're a great group of people, and I'm hoping at some point we can find some solution to this. But right now we're befuddled. Commissioner Hutchinson, I know you'd like to take the floor for a while.
I was just trying to think outside the box, not being negative, but we invested in the wage study as commissioners to let us know where we stand with employees. You don't want that employee that's way out. And I looked at that. I looked at the wage study in the sense that, and I'm thinking, like say, outside the box, why can't we take and present? We know where basically, look at the wage study. We know where we stand with certain people. Certain people are really needing that cost of living wages. And there's certain people that are over the limit. Why can't we do a structured where we give those people that are way under the 3% that they're asking? It gives them something. It gives them, that we appreciate what they're doing. The people that are right on the bubble, maybe giving those people that 3%, and the people that are way over the bubble, freeze them. If you keep giving that the high end of it, it never closes the gap. It never closes the gap. It gets worse if we keep doing that. So I'm just thinking, let's think outside the box, maybe structure it. And if you want to show appreciation, even structure it where maybe you go 3%, 2%, 1% in different categories. So you show them that you do appreciate them and that they can get something out of the deal, but the people at the low end get the higher end of what that is. I mean, it's just trying to be fair to everybody. And we're, especially in my area, we're getting hammered by, we don't know how to do our budget. And this gives us a way of not just rubber stamping at 3% across the board, but puts it in place. So I'm just thinking that why can't we look at something like that and try to keep everybody happy? And then once we get into a place where we have funds, and go back to the across the board.
Commissioner Embry?
My feeling is that we definitely need to prioritize with this additional money if we're able to find this additional money. I want to back up just a little bit to talk about what the sheriff mentioned. We have chosen as a board and as an administration and as a county government to embark on a process of zero-based budgets, balancing a budget, making millions of dollars in cuts. We've embarked on something that has not been done before. And we've talked about this at length over the last many, many months since we started this process, that we don't know 100% if we've touched every base, if we've turned over every rock. Are there still issues? I mean, right now we still have a couple of things that we're still working on. There may be other things that come up. And what I'm afraid of is if we spend down that contingency to zero or close to it, we are going to find ourselves in a very precarious situation if something comes up. I realize we do have a little bit of money in the general operating fund. There's a little bit there, right? And
Fund balance?
Fund balance, there's a little bit there, but again, we're doing what we've always done. Then we're going back to fund balance to borrow to get us back to square one. That's not what we've been talking about for the last 7-8 months. So my feeling is we need to prioritize any new additional monies, and that's what I talked about, a policy where if we have additional monies that come in, legacy, long-term legacy funds that come in revenue-wise, that we, in my opinion, we should designate money to the wage study implementation first. We've been saying all along that we realize, we understand that there are people, there's disparities. Sometimes there's egregious disparities in what the wage study said and what we're paying our people. What I don't want to do is create a situation where we put the COLA ahead of the wage study. I think we need to get ourselves squared away with this wage study that we invested a tremendous amount of time and effort into. Let's get this wage study worked out, find the money for that. And then, as you mentioned, maybe down the road a ways here, when we find additional funding, we can talk about COLAs. Now, I agree with Commissioner Hutchinson 100%. I think they need to be prorated. I think they need to be based on salary. From this to this, you're getting 3%. From this to this, you're getting 2%. From this to this, you're getting 1%. And for anybody that's overpaid, that's beyond the wage study, it's zero. I mean, I'm trying to be mean. I'm just saying we need to close that disparity.
That's our job.
That's our job.
It's our
Exactly.
responsibility.
Right. We need to show that, we need to demonstrate that to the employees of Isabella County. That's my opinion. So I think we need to prioritize where any additional legacy funding comes in. And I think it needs to be prioritized towards the wage study. Once we work through that wage study, then I think then we can move on to a COLA. And I'm not trying to be mean, if the money's not there for the COLA, then we can't do it. And I don't think we should. I'm not trying to besmirch our employees. We have fantastic employees.
It's not about whether they deserve it.
No, it's not. It's not about that at all, but we either are gonna do what we say, or we're gonna do what we've done in the past for however long and got ourselves into the situation. So I'm gonna get off my seat.
Okay. Well, I think on this, we need to have a strong consensus on the count of the members of the board. And it doesn't sound like we have that consensus here at committee. I do agree that we need to fund the gap for the prosecuting attorney's position. It doesn't make sense to lose a position and then have to refill it in just a few months with maybe somebody that has lesser quality or maybe nobody at all. So I guess the one question I have, once we adopt the budget, I don't believe if we find that we do have revenues to move ahead with the wage study's got to get done at some point. Whether we move with the wage study, we do a COLA, however we do this, we have the policy. It doesn't mean that we can't go in, amend the budget mid-year, and even provide retroactive pay if that is something we can afford.
You absolutely can. After you adopt the budget, I think you would probably wait until October if you wanted to do any budget amendments, but it's a very fluid document and you can amend it right up until September 30 of 2025.
Having served in the ranks of county government for about more than 25 years, I know I appreciated the pay. I had this family support, but it wasn't always the motivation for staying in the job. However, there comes a time, in fact, after 13 years as Parks and Recreation Director, I was offered a position in Midland that paid a whole lot more, and I really had no choice. I had decided to take that, move on. And I know people in their careers, usually the best way to enhance yourself financially is to change your employer and move on to more demanding, what better paid jobs. That's something every staff person is going to have to make on their own, that decision. But I can tell you that all the employees I worked with over the years and my peers, I don't believe any of them were motivated first and foremost by what they were being paid. So I appreciate that. I would still seek that we move this on to discussion for the full board because it's a very important matter. See what the light of day is coming out at the work session.
Is it all right? I asked the opinion of our administrator and our deputy administrator, what their thoughts are. Administrator.
So I think, simply put, the thing I wrangle with is the 31 full-time and the 2 part-time positions that we cut during the process of writing the budget. And to me, if you have found somehow the 292,000 to give this COLA to general fund, then as a first order of business, I think we would reinstate some of those positions. To me, in a hierarchy of things, positions come before COLA in my mind. Have we right-sized the positions? We won't know. We won't know for a while, right? So that untested piece obviously has me a little nervous, and I budget very conservatively, but I think, I just would stress that it's not about whether the employees deserve it or not, it's whether the county can afford it. And that's why we're having this conversation. I don't want to see us backslide into spending habits that we've displayed over the last decade.
Madam Deputy.
I think I mirror that as well. It's, from the email that I've sent to you 7 gentlemen over this past weekend, my stance on it and how strongly I feel about it. And it just comes back to the budget side. Yes, we have a budget, crisis on our hands. But we have those 31 positions that we just are gonna now face. And come January 1 or October 1, if they already haven't, they're gonna face those tough times. And what does this say to those positions? And that's where I morally and ethically stand with it. I am not in support of receiving the COLA and we just going to let 31 positions go and possibly not be able to feed their families, or that's my stance.
And just for me, I place a lot of faith. No. Madam Deputy. I know how hard it is. From your position, it would be easy to say, yeah, we want a COLA, but to put yourself out there to make that difficult decision. Appreciate it. I understand. So I place a lot of faith in what you tell me in this regard, because we spent a lot of time. Four of us, along with the chair, we spent a lot of time looking this over and trying to find the monies. If the monies were there, we would do it in a heartbeat. So again, huge respect. Thank you, ma'am. I'll leave it at that.
And again, that's our recommendation. We work at the pleasure of the board, and we will gladly fill that in if that's the board's direction. But thank you for asking.
I think the only thing that came out of our discussion, I mean, there's good things that came out of our discussion, but the one firm thing that came out is that for years, we've been faced with financial challenges and also staffing challenges. And as we look to the future, we're going to face those same challenges for a while. So then this doesn't require any kind of motion. We'll move this forward for further discussion at the work session.
Heidi is on.
Okay. So we're going to move back to number 4. Consider approving prime contract change order number 25 with Clark Construction in the net additional amount of $1,978 and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same. Morning, Heidi.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being flexible with me. Our last progress meeting ran a little late. So you have in front of you PCCO number 25. I noticed on the agenda, it was a total, I think, of 25 or 27,000. It's actually 10,242. I think I know why the wrong number got pulled in. And I will change that on the PCO log to make sure that it says that it's the total of all open PCCOs.
What is the correct number?
It's $10,242.
Of a number that goes down. Wonderful.
So kind of going through the list here for you real quick. PCO number 91, that was for RFI 314. That was at the west entry, the main entry for the building. There was some exposed I-beams. We did this as T&M. Once they came out to install the metal panels, then they can field measure what they needed to wrap those exposed beams. So doing that cost was $1,961, and that came from buyout. Moving down to PCO number 135. We had this one here with some value engineering that we worked with the sheriff on. We removed some sprinkler systems at the retention ponds and by the Sally Port, and also by some trees. And then we also changed the seed to regular grass seed versus wildflower mix in areas out by the Sally Port and behind the jail itself. That was a credit of $5,700, and that went back into buyout.
I love the logic of removing sprinklers from the retention ponds. Thank you. So smart. Smart.
Next item is PCO number 158. We were working in the men's and women's locker rooms and in those showers at the top of the wall for the tile. The detail did not show that we needed Schluter strips to finish out the edge. And then on the corners of the block wall, to add those in there for those rooms was an add of $1,719, and that came from buyout. The next item on our list is PCO number 158. That one there was for epoxy. Oh, I'm sorry, 159. I already said 158. 159, that was for epoxy floors in the showers. We went with, it was missed on the drawings there, and we worked with the sheriff on what was the most economical way of doing that. And that was to put the epoxy floor, which would match the room right next to it, that kind of that room before you walk into the shower there. So the next item on our list then is PCO number 159. This was for mechanical chase. We had some rubber base shown in there. In those chases, you don't need base, so it was a credit of $87, but a credit to the project, and that also went into buyout. I have the next item on the list here is PCO number 160. This here is when you're at the main entry, and I don't know if you've noticed, but there is, like when you walk in the vestibule there's some air nozzles that they're white, and they kind of stick out on the black wall. So we are asked to paint those black so that they blend right in, so you don't have this kind of weird looking white thing on the wall that kind of just projects. That cost was there was $750 to do the 4 of them, and that was taken from buyout. We did get a price though to have the mechanical contractor change them out, and that was over $3,000, so that was a more economical way of doing that. The next item on the list was PCO number 166. These were for some ammunition cabinets. At the time we bid the projects, we did not have a spec or a detail. So we threw allowance in our contractor, which is Konowitsky Scope, of $2,000. Once we got design, we priced it out, and actually the cost of the cabinet was $9,885. We took that allowance of $2,000, and so the cost then was $7,885, and that came from buyout. Our next item on the list is PCO number 167. This was for the mechanical room, the pump motor controllers. These pumps were not shown, or these controllers were not shown in the drawings that was needed in order to control the pumps. So providing those pumps there was $4,970. And that came from buyout. On the second page, PCO number 172, when sheriff went out to review the security system, it was brought to his attention that we have some video rooms where right now we have call buttons put on there. I'm sorry, we have intercoms, and we need to change them to call buttons. for privacy concerns is the reason we need to remove those intercoms and provide a call button so no one can listen in on conversations. So that was $1,619, and that was also taken from buyout. We also had a price for, I'm sorry, that was actually more than that. We had Master Electric on there too, was 373. So it was actual cost of 1,992. That was taken from buyout. And then the last item here, is a credit to the project. Our detention contractor, realized they had, priced detention shower seats in area A for the, locker rooms. So to provide those detention, credits, our shower seats back as a credit was $4,478 that went into buyout. And then the last one we have is also a credit to buyout. We had our sheriff's supplier out from Lansing, I think it's Lansing Sanitary. They are going to do all the soap, paper towel dispensers, toilet paper dispensers, and those kind of things in the building and install them. And so we had carried a number in our general trades contractor, Konowinski, to install them. So since they are going to do it for you, there's no cost for them, and we have a credit of $1,120 going back to buyout. So the total of the PCCO number 25 is $10,242. And right now we currently on the PCO log that you had in front of you, it showed a negative in the buyout. We had talked at our last OAC meeting that the PCO log is fluid just because we have credits coming in and cost towards the project. So it shows on the buyout that we are negative 429 in there, but that was taken from contingency. So right now we have a total contingency remaining of $781,345. I can tell you as of today, we had a couple credits, so it did go up a little bit. So it's, like I said, it is fluid. It kind of moves as we get different pricing come in, and some of my estimates might be a little higher than what the numbers come in at. So any questions?
No questions or comments?
Just percentage wise, we're still above that 85%.
We are about 87% complete with project, and we're roughly about 36% complete or remaining in by our contingency at this point.
Would you like to make the motion?
Surely can. I move to take consideration for approving prime contract change order number 25 with Clark Construction in the net additional amount of $10,242 to our work session Tuesday night.
I'll second that. Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Pose same sign. It moves forward. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
Move down to invoice list discussion. We've got two invoice lists. First one is August 16th. Question?
Just like to point out the site plan services for our expansion on the material recovery facility. We continue to get in our I forgot the name of it. The commitments from the various counties.
Under local agreement.
Oh, yes, ILOs, right? ILAs. We're getting we're receiving our ILAs from the gonna be end up being 8 counties. All in all, that will be involved in our regional, what's called Heartland Recycling.
So we added what, Midland? Is that-
Yes. Midland.
Okay. So the grant dollars that are coming in for a regional organization, those don't know anything about that coming in yet, or we don't know anything
Well,
about the planning?
The grant dollars come into individual counties, so if they're part of a regional authority, then that could be used towards the regional authority, just like semantics, but they should be, I think we've built them in the fiscal 25 budget for the MERS, so, you know, we're anticipating them in fiscal 25.
So those dollars will all go to whatever county is coordinating the planning process. Is that it to cover costs or?
Not all. I think the plan is for some of those funds to be reserved back in the counties for, there's different funds. We get some per capita and we get
Correct.
some just flat out, here's a flat dollar amount. So we're talking about leaving some of those dollars with the counties. So they can grow their own recycling program, right? And not just be part of that regional, but have that education at home.
Yeah, so there's two piles of money. You've got the $60,000 per county, which will come into the material management plan Heartland organization. Okay, that will help us develop this entire plan for the entire region. Then you have the per capita money, which is 50 cents per resident
Okay.
per capita. And that money will stay with the individual counties to help them advertise and roll out programs and also to enhance our recycling. You have an app that you can put on your phone that will tell you everything you need to know about Heartland and our recycling programs and where to take everything. You'll be able to take a picture of a particular item and it'll tell you exactly where it should go. Just as a point of reference, I did use the app and I took a picture of Commissioner Engler and it said,
Cemetery?
no, it said landfill or compost.
I'm sure he's thrilled about that.
Yes, he was.
Well, I'm sure we're gonna hear more about it.
Hmm.
But getting back to the
Yes.
invoices for payment, I didn't see any of them that I had questions about on the August 16th list. We're moving on then to the August 23rd list. You see the Isabella Conservation District is getting 49,722 for spring distribution for household hazardous waste. That means they're gonna be able to continue that again next year, or is that to cover the cost this year?
So this says from the spring 2% distribution, so that would have been this current year's distribution, you know, that money comes to the county and then the conservation district requests it from us. Just kind of like the health department does with any of their 2% requests as well.
We're a pass through.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we're a pass through for that, and this would have been this spring's 2%.
So if it's for this year, then they have to kind of front that money until they get the reimbursement.
It's my understanding. My understanding from Crystal Butler at the Conservation District was that they would not have held this household hazardous waste collection had they not received the 2% grant. So I'm not sure that she has a lot of matching funds any longer from other sources.
Okay. And I seen that source one, we did approve that at I think was it the final meeting we
He
had?
was pretty quick on that, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, $66,000 almost,
He
so.
had the check already written, didn't he?
So that has been taken care of, so we can move ahead with the wiring
Also-
project at the correctional facility.
No.
Sir?
I don't have anything else on any of the other bigger bills or the smaller payments.
I just had a question about feedback on the seal coating at the county and trial court building.
Yes.
Does
Doesn't that look
anybody
nice?
haven't been by there yet?
Oh, you need to.
Because it was awful before.
It was, and remember that and put that in your mind, and check it out for a couple of years, right? I know. Facilities Director Shoemaker was a little disheartened because he had someone come up to him and say, I thought the county didn't have any money and these parking lots look amazing. Well, yeah, because he was able to seal coat them and make them last a little longer, right? We're not tearing them up and redoing parking lots. We're sealing them to help them last longer. So it does look very nice, Commissioner. I'm glad you brought that up.
Take a look. Thank you,
Fresh stripes,
thank you, Director Shoemaker.
you Director Shoemaker.
Any other comments or questions on either of the lists? Then we'll move these forward to the work session. We'll go to announcements. Anything? Then we'll go to call the public. A lot of familiar faces out there. Thank you for your interest.
We do have a hand raised online.
Okay,
Our registered of deeds, Miss Karen Jackson, has her hand up. Hi Karen, can you hear us?
Yes. So I just wanted to say that I think everybody really appreciates the board's concern and willingness to try to do a 3% COLA. But I think we all recognize that timing is everything. And right now we need to work together as a team and get back to being a family. Most of us don't just work here. Most of us live here in Isabella County. And I think that would make a 3% COLA kind of a hollow victory if it killed the November millage. That's all I have to say.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Your comments are always appreciated.
Thank you, Karen.
Anybody else for public comment? Then we'll adjourn the meeting of the Finance Administration Committee at 11:51. Thank you everyone for coming.